welcome back to my video. And in this video I focused on how to create the simple REST API using Spring Framework and Spring Boot, and that's it. I think that is quite easy video for you, but at this very important step, it can help you develop in the next step in the future. Yeah, okay, and I hope that this video will be helpful for you. Now let's get started.
Okay, firstly, I want to have some introduction about REST API. For anyone who have knowledge about that, you can skip this session. REST is a representational state transfer. It's a way to communicate between client and server, and the data transfer can be text, HTML, or JSON. And for the RESTful web service, it has some advantages like it's really fast. It can write in any programming language, and it's flexible because it supports multiple formats like HTML, JSON, or text, and have some advantage compared to Drop. And now I also noted about some principle when we design an REST API. Firstly, it's self-documenting. It means that when you see the REST API, you can know that what is the input, what is the output, and it's the document. And is it flexible? It should be flexible. It means that it can easy to open and expand in the future, and unify structure and attribute that have the same format with naming. And the next is HTTP verb. HTTP verb, I have the attached link here to help you have some more knowledge about HTTP method like bot, guest, or boot. And for anyone who need to compare and know the difference between them. And the next year, I also collect some best practice for when we develop the REST API. Firstly, we should use JSON for sending and receiving data. And the second is we should use now instead of verb. For example, if you want to create the API to create new products, so the endpoint should be product, not create the products. It should be a noun, not a verb. And name collection with plural noun. For example, if you want to have the API to get the boss with the bot ID 123, so the endpoint should be boss with S, and should use the stated code in error handling. It helps client to know what is the errors when they get the API. And now we move to the main part today, Spring REST. And firstly, I want to introduce the workflow for Spring REST. And when the client sends a request to the service, and the request is intercepted by the departure servlet, and look for the handler mappings and its type, and it tells the departure servlet with the controller based on the incoming request and return to the client. And for the RESTful web service, it is similar, but there's the key difference between here is the way the HTTP response body is created. And the RESTful web service, it always returns the object or object data in the JSON or XML. And now we move to the main part, how to create the REST API using Spring Boot. And firstly, we should add the Spring Boot starter web dependency to configuration file. It depends on what technology you use, Gradle or Maven. And for Spring Boot starter web, it also includes Spring Web MVC, so you don't need to add anything else to develop the REST API. And now we also have some important annotation here. Firstly is the REST controller. That is very important annotation. If you work for the Spring MVC in traditional, and you also know about the annotation controller, and REST controller is including the annotation controller and response body control, response body annotation. So, and red controller appear in Spring 4 version, and is smart class. It means that it returns the domain object instead of a view. That is the key difference between the red controller and the controller. So it can help you when you develop the REST API. You should use REST controller only, and we need to specify the response body. And the other annotation like gas mapping or bob mapping here. So instead of you use the request mapping with method get, you can use gas mapping. And one more thing is response entity. It represents the HTTP response, include header, body, or status. Now we move to the demonstration, and I will create the API for a product object and test it on the Postman. Now you can see, firstly I will show you the POM file. We also add the Spring Boot Starter Web. It also includes the Spring Web MVC and the other thing here. For Spring Boot, you need not to have a lot of configuration. And now I will create the products to return to the client product object in the view. And for more simple, in this video I just do the status data, not no database in this case, because I just want to have the have a demonstration for the way client communicate with the REST API, and we don't use the database in this demo. And for the object, I will create some property like ID, name, and price for the product. And now I will create the controller for products, that is product controller. This controller is include the API for the product object. And as I mentioned before, we use the red controller annotation to Spring will know that this class is for controller, and when the request go to this one, it will find the right controller based on the mapping. And now I will write the first API to get on products, to get list of products and return to the client. And I will create the symbol static list to return to the client. For the demo, it's really simple. There is no data here. There is no database here. So now to make the common path for this API, I will put the request mapping in the beginning of the class. So to get the link here, instead we put the every methods with the products path like this. You should put it in the common of class. So you can see the product with S here. That is the convention for the bed plastic I mentioned before. And for each methods, we should figure out what is the gas, boss, or boot methods. And in this case, I show that is the gas mapping method. And you can see that we need not to buy the bus in each method because we have the products in the beginning. If something different, we can add the bus for each method, follow the gas mapping. And you instead of return the link object only, you can use the response entity, because response entity is also include the status, body, and header. It's also the best practice when you write the REST API using Spring REST. And this one it also return the list of products, but there is more information like status in the response. So now we run this one and see what happened. Yeah, you can see that the path is A080 and the path is demo, and you can change the root path in the property file. And now we move to this one. Yeah, you can see the link here is demo/products. That is the common path in the class product controller, and it is the get method, and it get the list of products we write in the controller. And now I will write another API, and this API not return a list of products. I will return one product based on the ID. Based on the ID of products, so the return type is products, and that is get product by ID. And we have to pass the argument is ID, and we return the new products here. We return the static products for the demo, but in the real situation, you can use this ID to find the products from the database. Yeah, but it's so simple. I just write something in the red controller. There is no database here. Yeah, this is also the get method, but if you write something like this, that is the duplicate path, so it will get the error. So there is some difference here in the second method. It means that we will add something like, for example, in this case, I use the path variable to something like this to get the ID from the endpoint. So in this case, I will point out this parameter is the path variable, and we also name the name of the path here. That makes the difference between the variable in the Java and the variable in the link. So for the symbol, you can need not to point something like that, because the ID in the variable of Java and the ID in the path is the same. If you need not to figure out the name here. So I will let this symbol something like that. Okay, for here we also is similar to above method. You also use response entity to return to client, to include the starter and the other information for the response. And we run this again. Okay, you can see that it also return the object products here with the header and the status and the body. It also include in response entity. This method it create the new product, so we receive the product from the client, and I will write the static to return this product to client again. Okay, that is the box mapping. You can see that the link is similar to the first methods, but this is the box method, so there is no errors, because we had the different methods, the box and get with the similar path here. Okay, now we will test this one by passing the JSON data product to this API with the boss method. Yeah, now we change it to boss and pass the JSON object. The first method JSON is similar to this one, so we can return and we can change the name is something like new font. Okay, you can see that this one we get the noon for the name. For the name and ID, it means that it can get any property from the client in this case. So what we miss here, we can see that it don't get anything from the client. So the missing here is request body, because for request body, Spring note that this one is will convert it from JSON to the object for the request body, and it's changed to the object, and now in this method we get the object and say it to the database and return the result to the client. And now we can see that we will run this API again one more time and check it, and you can see that okay, this one it also get this. Okay, you can see that is the difference. And now I will also have the demo with the boot method. It's really similar to, but in this case we will do something like we update the existing products in the server. So for this case we use the boot mapping, and if everything is similar to the other. So for boot method, I also want to pass the path variable on the link on the path of endpoint. So it can something like we get the ID and we update the products to the database, something like that. But in this case, I just return again the static products, so it can have you understand the REST API only. Now we run this again. So we change it to boot method. Okay, that's all for the demonstration, some API for the product object, and I hope that this can help you understand how to write the API using Spring Framework or Spring Boot. And now we have some I want to have some explanation to help you understand why. You can see that why you put when you send the JSON to the database and it understand at the object, because behind the scenes Spring has the link of HTTP message converter in the background, and every time it request hit the response body, and Spring will convert it to the object. Okay, it's converted to the JSON to return to the client. And the important thing here is that the Jackson library it also include in the Spring Boot starter, because you can see that we do not have any configuration for the conversion but everything is automatically. But you should understand behind the scenes Spring can do and can help you to do something, some converter automatically, because we use the rect controller annotation, and we don't need to use the annotation like response body in this case to convert from the object data or link the object data to the JSON like this. And because we use the rect controller, so we need not to use response body here. It can understand implicit. And for the case we send the JSON data in the, for example, the project JSON, and it's understand because you use the request body, and behind the scene it convert to the object, and we can get the data.
Yeah, that's all about how to create the new REST API for using Spring Framework and Spring Boot. And I hope that's it really helpful for you. Once again, thank you so much. And right now, you can start writing your code to develop your API. Thank you so much.